Ladies and gentlemen, we have some breaking news. This article just came out a couple of hours ago. This is exactly why you need to be subscribed, because you will always be kept in the loop. This is scary stuff. The United States is, pun intended, in foreign territory. U.S. government balance sheet declared insolvent while the U.S. is involved in 5 different wars: Gaza, Iran, Iraq, Ukraine, and now China. This is an extremely controversial article with extremely worrying information, but we're going to break it all down because 1, it needs to get exposed, and 2, it directly does affect the price of silver, as I am a silver stacking channel. So make sure you guys click subscribe, because this is the type of stuff that you probably would have missed if you weren't subscribed. So imagine if you had a $100,000 balance sheet on your credit card, and you only made the minimum payment every month because you were paying close to 0% interest. What would happen if your credit card company jacked up your rate to 5% or higher virtually overnight? You would be in big trouble. That's exactly what's happening with the United States government now. In 2023, we spent more on interest than our defense budget, and interest rates are going up. The CEO of JP Morgan, which is the most corrupt bank in the world, cried out, "Be prepared for 7% interest rates." Let's do the math here. 7% on a $33 trillion debt. Where did they get the number $33 trillion from? Well, that is the actual national debt. You can go to usdebtclock.org if you want a live counter. That is $2.3 trillion just in interest payments every single year. 2.3 trillion. That's almost twice of what we spend on Social Security alone. Do you know our entire government tax revenue in the most recent fiscal year? Less than 4 trillion. So we will spend more than half of our income on interest payments. Take a look at this projection. U.S. government is bankrupt. And this is something that other countries are starting to realize or have, but I think since COVID, it really exposed the truth. This is why nobody's using dollars anymore. This is why de-dollarization is a real thing. This is why other countries are creating their own digital currency backed by physical commodities. They aren't using dollars anymore. So this is a chart showing the U.S. government is bankrupt. $4 trillion revenue. Then we have $8.2 trillion, which is interest expenses, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, healthcare programs, food stamps, and defense. That's the revenue, $4 trillion. Our expenses are $8.2 trillion. You make $4 trillion in income, but your expenses are over $8 trillion. Can you see now why everyone is losing trust in the dollar? We're bankrupt. That's the only conclusion. This isn't opinion, but numbers and facts. And I like that they mention that, because some people genuinely think this is all conspiracy. It's all theory. It's all just people being paranoid SHTF preppers that don't really know, or they're exaggerating the truth and everything's just gonna be okay. That is so far from the truth. And those are the people I'm worried about. That's why I try to make videos for people to not only learn the truth, but have a solution, which is precious metals, to protect themselves to the best they can. So that's what Ray Dalio recently went on CNBC and said on live TV. We're going to have a debt crisis in this country. Economist Peter Schiff says, from Schiff Gold, "I think the day of reckoning is at hand. This story is going to have a tragic ending, unfortunately. We're going to have a dollar crisis and a sovereign debt crisis." I really, really want people to comment on this in the comment section below, because I've been talking to many people and all of us feel the same thing, that something just isn't right. 2024 is, something's going to happen. You know, every year after year, we know times are crazy. We know things are gonna escalate, but something right now just doesn't feel right. I've talked to so many people, even Andy Scheckman, he's mentioned this. There's just something in our stomachs, this feeling. Of course, regardless, things would be off, but There's something in particular that's different this time, and I want you guys to let me know if you also feel that. The Chinese media is also predicting a catastrophe. Most of us don't pay attention to the Chinese media, but China is one of the largest holders of the U.S. Treasury. So here's what their media is saying. The U.S. is spending big, come rain or shine. The logical end to this madness is the collapse of the dollar and rampant inflation. Let's discuss China further. Let's also bring back Ray Dalio for a moment. According to the founder of the world's largest hedge fund, Ray Dalio, we're at the brink of a brutal World War III. Bridgewater founder Ray Dalio warns of a brutal World War III, says China and U.S. are at the brink of a hot war. So China and U.S. are at the brink of war. As if Russia-Ukraine war wasn't enough, or Israel-Palestine. We now have a new war in the Middle East that is escalating quickly, and soon we could have a direct conflict between Israel and Arab nations. Just yesterday, the Pickaxe reported on U.S. military striking against Iraq. And this is the article. The Department of Defense is considering a name change to Department of Offense. And that is Ben Norton, a journalist and researcher, has highlighted the extensive military interventions conducted by the U.S. According to a report by the Congressional Research Service, the U.S. military launched at least 251 foreign interventions between 1991 and 2022. With a total of 469 interventions acknowledged since 1798. So at the same exact time, an Air Force secretary is warning that China is preparing for a war with the U.S. The entire world is in chaos. U.S. is involved in 5 wars: Ukraine, Gaza, Iran, Iraq, and now China. But this isn't just a kinetic war, bloody and brutal, or a cyber war, bringing banks, stock markets, trading businesses, and healthcare to a grinding halt. It's a financial war, and the U.S. is losing. This is what Andy Schekman talks about on my channel. We have a weekly podcast. We're actually shooting the next episode on Friday. This is the BRICS nations, and it goes into some of that right now, which I mentioned. Countries are opting out of the U.S. dollar, which is the world's reserve currency. BRICS nations, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. 5 countries who allied together to say, you know what, we don't want Americans' greedy little fingers in our pockets. We're going to do something about it. Now, there's other countries, and there's like 20-something that have applied, and more is growing bigger every day, leading into the Belt Road Initiative, which is connecting up to like 75% of the world with trains and highways and by sea, by air, by everything, all in trade routes. It's a matter of weeks. The U.S. lost its oil backing. Saudi Arabia, UAE, all of OPEC, and most of the world are ditching the once almighty U.S. dollar. Times are changing, folks. Things don't last forever. Times are changing, and we are at the beginning of a new chapter. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's true. Take a look at this picture. On the right is China's currency. The left, obviously, is the dollar. China aims to replace the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. China is quietly trying to dethrone the dollar. China is getting closer to that goal each day. In February, they got Iran to ditch the dollars for trade. They're using oil. Iraq to allow trade with China in Chinese dollars. In March, they got Brazil, the largest economy in South America, to ditch the dollar for trade. China, Brazil strike a deal to ditch dollar for trade. In April, they got Argentina to ditch the dollar for trade. This is from South China Morning Post. Argentina to settle Chinese imports in yuan as China marches into South America to dethrone the U.S. dollar. I also heard something that someone said that was very interesting. America, you and I, we mainly get U.S. news. So we don't really see this type of news breaking out across the world from China. We're watching CNBC, we're watching CNN, we're watching Fox News, we're watching all of these things that are centered around America, unless you're subscribed to a channel like mine that exposes and posts geopolitical news. But that's why I think people are so blind to the truth that live in America, or think that it's a conspiracy, because they don't see these articles, they don't see these news outlets from other countries. Or they'll just hear their friend who they think is crazy, that stacks precious metals, that talks about how how the world's burning down and why your dollars are worthless, and people just look at them crazily, but they don't. It's because they're not actually doing any research. They're just assuming this isn't possible because they don't want to believe it's possible or that it's happening. The ruling elites have been saying this could never happen, but this is happening. Saudi Arabia didn't welcome Biden and has now turned to Russia and China for military protection, a position in the U.S. had since Kissinger met with the Saudi royal family in 1971. Bloomberg de-dollarization is happening at a stunning pace, and it's happening right now in real time. Make no mistake about it, this is economic warfare, and it's about to get worse. The Chinese Communist Party will announce the second phase of its attack against the dollar as soon as January 6, 2024. Like a Category 5 hurricane, this announcement could demolish America's financial markets, stunning investors and business people alike. You need to invest into precious metals. Even if you don't buy through me, right? Yes, you could purchase gold and silver slayer at milesfranklin.com. I'm a broker. I can offer you guys financial freedom with great prices, but it's not about me trying to sell you something. You have to do this. I've been talking about gold and silver for 7 years now on this channel. Never tried to sell you a single penny until recently that I matched up with Andy Scheckman, and I have an opportunity to give my audience, great service from a company that has an A+ in the Better Business Bureau with someone who's highly respected. Regardless, though, I'm not telling you guys to invest in the precious metals for me to make a profit. I invest myself. I buy lots and lots of silver, and I give away lots and lots of silver. And I'm doing this because this is real. What we're reading on the screen is real. It's really happening, and the only thing you can do, financially at least, is protect yourself with precious metals. And why do you think all these countries, India, China, Russia, Brazil, why do you think all these countries are buying boatloads of gold and silver? Because they know the same thing. They also know this. Do you think it's just ironic that silver being $24, which people say is worthless, but the biggest countries in the world that are all allying together are buying massive amounts of it? It's like they know something that the public doesn't know. Certain stocks will drop or could drop by 80%. And since all these enormous markets like Brazil, India, China, Russia, South Africa, that's the BRICS nations, and most of Latin America are dumping the dollar, all of these dollars will come washing back to the U.S. continent, and this second wave of inflation cannot be stopped by monetary policy. Banks will not get bailed out. Silicon Valley Bank did. It will be the excuse the Fed needs to roll out its dystopian digital dollar, which is CBDC. Inflation would soar, leading to a massive drop in bonds. Certain money market funds could become almost worthless virtually overnight. In other words, you and your family depend on many investments for your retirement, which will no longer be safe. And that's why the only one is precious metals. They're called safe havens for a reason. This announcement will be catastrophic for the American economy. Let's see if I'm right. What a strong article. What a scary article. This is something that is very unsettling, but I feel since I have a platform with an audience, I feel I am responsible to expose the truth, to expose what's happening. Even though some will probably try to silence me, who knows? Some will probably try to, I don't even know. I'm just saying that I want as many people as possible to know what's happening. That's why liking the videos, commenting, sharing, share this video to your friends or family or someone who says that this is all just BS, because these are real news articles and headlines from China talking about the dollar, or how the dollar is going to collapse and U.S. is spending big, come rain or shine. I mean, scary stuff, folks. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. If you guys wanted to subscribe, I really appreciate it. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.